I thought we're not going to get more than.
I don't know if it was ever, I don't know if they ever had a number in this.
Well, I think on Ontario.
I just, the grocery stores are gonna be interesting. Well, like I said, I can just imagine in a city right now. It's probably just getting hammered. Even though it's open until 1, it's always open.
Have you got a in this or?
But they put a cost for it. Because they had people then limits on it at one time.
Anyway, all right, it's 6 o'clock. Are you good? Okay, then let's call this meeting to order. And we have a couple of additions. We have 9.5, Palliser Regional Municipal Services Grant application. And then 13.2, under closed session, we have a land matter as well as a legal matter. Everybody got that? Any questions? No? Okay, with that, I would entertain the motion as amended. Councilor Stickle, thank you. All in favor? That is carried. We have nobody here for delegations, I don't think, do we, Mr. Miller? Not delegations, public, we'll call it, we've got nobody here for delegations, obviously. But public presentation? Going once? Come on. Okay, you have till October to actually do something. Just saying. All right, so that takes us to 5, adoption of minutes. Oh my gosh. I would entertain a motion that the minutes of the council meeting held November 10th, 2020 be adopted as presented. Thank you, Councilor Olson. Any questions, errors, or omissions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. 5.02. I would entertain a motion that the minutes of the special council meeting held November 18th, 2020 be adopted as presented. Thank you, Councilor Gordon. Any questions, errors, or omissions? All right, I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. 5.3, I would entertain a motion that the minutes of the special council meeting held November 24th, 2020 be adopted as presented. Thank you, Councilor Deadlock. Is there any questions, errors, or omissions? Seeing none, call question. All in favor? That is carried. And finally, 5.04, I would entertain a motion that the minutes of the special meeting of council held December 2nd, 2020 be adopted as presented. Thank you, Councilor Campbell. Any questions, errors, or omissions? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? That is carried. That takes us to financial reports. There you go. I would entertain a motion that council accepts the account payable listing for general account checks 41304 to 41367 and direct deposit payments of 00009 to a bunch of zeros and 35 for information. Thank you, Councilor Jensen. Any questions regarding the accounts payable?
Just a comment, Mr. Mayor. So you will see this is a new listing, new format. So the direct or electronic funds transfers will be the ones that are the low numbers. So the 0 on the first page, 9 to 17. The check numbers will be the higher numbers. We're slowly migrating to more electronic fund transfers than checks each time we do a accounts payable. That's what our clients like, and it's working quite well. So just for your information,
Not to tax your memory, but we had this on the last year.
do we have this same form? Yeah.
Sorry.
I thought it was a little different.
It's one of those things with age. I think it's. Oh, was it? Oh, okay, so we just, sorry. So.
Thank you, Ron.
Standard.
Do what I can.
All right. Any questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Takes us to 6.2, statement of revenue and expenses. I would entertain a motion that council accepts the statement of revenue and expense report for November 2020 for information. Councilor Stichel, thank you. Any questions regarding the statement of revenue and expenses? Yes, Councilor
I
Olson.
suspect I just need a memory jog. The subdivision, other 16,500, what was that?
That was for the purchase of the land from Canelta, which we created that road.
Any questions? Any further questions? All right, I'll call the question and all in favor? And that is carried. 6.3, the budget overview. I would entertain a motion the council accepts the budget overview for November 2020 for information. Thank you, Councilor Deadlock. Any questions regarding the budget overview?
Oh,
Yes, Councilor Bowden.
I did have a question regarding the purchase of the excavator or whatever it's called. Did we not decide to kind of put that on the burner and look for some public?
You mean for the budget? We haven't purchased, there's nothing in here to,
No, but it's still on the books for this year. Is it not going to be postponed to next year or not?
I'm a little bit confused, Councilor Bowden. So that when you say excavator, do you mean when we were talking high hole?
Well, whatever it is, a high hole.
Okay, that was for the, that was in the 21 budget.
Right,
So we haven't got to the budget yet.
okay,
So,
sorry, yeah, sorry, no, I apologize.
okay.
Any further questions? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that is carried. That takes us to committee reports 7. At 7.1, we have a committee report from the Community Services Board. I would entertain a motion that council accepts the Community Services Board meeting minutes for November 16, 2020 for information. Councilor Jensen, thank you. Any questions regarding those meeting minutes? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All in favor? That is carried. That takes us to 8, Senior Administrative Officials Report. 8.1 is our illustrious Chief Administrative Officer, Mr. Neal. I'll just turn the floor over to you.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'm certainly going to answer any questions council may have. I guess I just wanted to touch a little bit of a COVID-19 update and discussion based on the news that hit us around 4:30 today. So as we know, it is a mandatory mask, so that'll be a message we'll get out to our public. I'm sure the province will be. I'm sure the people will be inundated with that. Impacts to us is Arena, Colonel Rank, Centennial Place, Community Center. As of December 13th, or as of Saturday, the transition between Saturday and Sunday at midnight will be closed. They will be closed for a minimum of 4 weeks. And we will go from there. It didn't appear that they left any slivers of opportunity to have, for example, a public skate, a family, an individual household family skate, or an individual household in the field house. It looks like it's back to kind of March, April, they're closed. We'll get more details tomorrow as we move through it, but that's how I've interpreted it to date. Certainly, there is a push, I guess, to have people work from home. So we will be having that discussion tomorrow at the office in terms of how we're going to be able to roll that out, how it's going to work. We did it in March in shifts. So we'll see how we can roll it out this time. Our public works guys will be able to continue to work. And our arena guys will be able to put back into doing some catch up on stuff that they missed. December comes in at Christmas, and generally some people are taking some holidays around that time. Regardless, Centennial Place, we've got some alternate work lined up for the full-time staff person there. We will be having to let our part-time people, we will be laying them off. Town office is what we'll have to put our heads together and figure out what we do there. I'll check with where special areas is gonna go down the road with that, whether we leave it open, whether we close. Again, if we're closed, staff can work from home and people can still call, people can still email. We've increased the abilities for electronic payments, all of that stuff. And I know that Lori's got it set up that we can, we can take our phones from the office and take them home and have them work too. So we have a lot of, I guess, thinking to do tomorrow in terms of how that's gonna look and how we're gonna roll that out. But that'll be an impact to us. And I think that's it for now. As you were aware, there will be impacts on a number of our businesses will be closed and or reduced significantly in terms of what they can do, like the restaurant, bar. They will only be able to serve food from delivery or pickup. And their hours will be restricted. Our stores, as you know, our mayor has a retail store, will be restricted to 15%. Again, technicalities around that. What is 15%? What number is that? I suspect possibly our fire chief may be getting some calls here the next day to help them figure out what their 15% occupancy is. I know I've had a conversation with him about grocery stores and retail stores, and he said he hasn't had to do occupancy on those. So it'll be interesting whether you take the shelving out and then figure out the floor space you have. You just can't take the floor, like you said, at a restaurant, it's the full building because you're sitting at a table. They don't take space away for tables, but whether that happens for that, I'm sure there'll be a number of questions happening, and we move forward through there. So just a quick update there. That's what I gathered. I do have a conference call tomorrow with Dr. Hinshaw. She was on today for our meeting, but she couldn't give us any updates, so we have one again tomorrow. And I'm sure there'll be hundreds of questions that they never get through and have to respond later. So we'll get some more details on that, but other than that, we'll do the best we can and make it work. And other than that, if there's any questions, please feel free to ask.
Just clarification. So the Curling Rink Arena and Centennial Place don't close until
They can be open until Saturday.
Saturday night.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that would be the last of those facilities for 4 weeks. So.
Okay.
So everybody who wants to skate, we gotta get there by Saturday.
Yes, sir. Yeah, just heard. Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. That takes us to 8.2, Director of Business and Communication, Director Armstrong.
My apologies for getting this in late, but I know I wanted to get it to you, so hopefully you've had a chance to quickly review. And just wondering if anybody has any questions.
I didn't get it. Was it just sent today?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just got it in the package, Lori. I didn't get it out today.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. So this is the first that you've seen.
Yes.
And my apologies. So,
We can just make stuff
Just a
up if you want.
yeah, I'll just make up whatever I want. Just a quick high level. Still working on branding documents. Still working on getting those things. The e-newsletter is at 308 subscribers, which is a better uptake than it was before. Slowly growing. It's been a year since the website was launched. I'm now finally starting to be able to dig back into it, into the back end and stuff that hadn't been deleted by the developer that still shows up on Google, like old bids for old equipment. If somebody Googles, Ken's received a phone call that we have a 1978 something or other up for bid, that type of thing. So we didn't get a chance to clean that up after it went live, so that's slowly happening. I just gave you a few stats here from YouTube. It's interesting. Tonight there's 10 people watching on YouTube and 1 on Zoom. So that's not counting what I've got going on here. So that was good. This is over the past 28 days, there have been 156 hours of Town of Hannah videos watched. So people are looking for that kind of information, even though we may think it's dull or dull. People are definitely looking for that. Yeah, just a little bit of information and stats. I just started working on our technology replacement schedule, so I may put that on hold now till the new year. Everybody's fortunately working fine in the office, but we'll see how that, as Kim said, we'll be having that discussion over the next year or so as to what things are gonna be looking like. Oh, and maybe the biggest thing we finally got completed is we finally got the old branded merchandise cleared out, and we're moving the new stuff in. It still doesn't look really attractive. I'm a little bit slow at getting that done, but with help from staff in the office, we're getting it all moved in, and we just have to do some displays. So I think that's all I have to report, unless there's any questions.
Councilor Bodie.
I have a question. I was on the town website last week and looking just for some information, and there was the topic current COVID information, and I went in there, and it was like about the middle of November. So is there any chance that will be brought up to date, especially given the changes and such?
Yeah, as I receive the information from the department heads, I update that, and then probably around that time, and that was November, that wasn't that long ago.
No, it was just like when I went in, it was last week, so it was
Oh, yeah, no,
December.
we'll be updating those pages, the hannah.ca/COVID-19
Well,
section.
it was on the main homepage, and it said, I think, today's COVID information or something along that line as far as the title. So I was curious, went in, and it was middle of November, so it was 2 weeks behind. So I was just curious as to when that would be up to date, because I imagine there's going to be lots of people looking to see what's going on.
Oh, yeah, we'll definitely be doing communication around that.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, thank you for that, Director Armstrong. That takes us to 8.3, Director of Community Services, Director Snell.
Thank you, Mayor Warwick. I'm busy checking out the council. I'm busy checking out the weather app so that I'll know when we can start making ice on the outdoor arena, because apparently that will be our next job of our crew. And I guess that's just a segue into, I've already had an opportunity to talk to our staff with the COVID and said it's up to our department now to look at ways we can continue to serve our community and make things available that are available within the guidelines. And I know every one of them will step up to the plate. So just wanted to state that very clearly for council. I hope you enjoyed the photos again, this report. Although we didn't have the light up with the Chamber of Commerce parade, we heard lots of good comments about the tree being lit up, and Netigo were really great about coming on board with their lift truck and helping with that. So, and they're going to help us take the lights down after, so they'll be rolled up and stored away and ready to go for next year. So we're pleased about that. I think it's pretty self-explanatory in terms of things that we're looking at or attempting to do. I can tell you right now that we will not be looking at hiring a temporary staff person right now. We did hold off on that position as we were catching on, so didn't want to hire somebody to turn around and tell them 2 days later that they were going to be laid off for a while. So we'll wait on that one. And As I mentioned, we'll be looking at ways we can work together with the community. One of the things the Hannah Wellness Network came up with was looking at snow piles. So we've already had discussions with Brent about what could possibly be done in the community, where we could look at those locations and got some partnerships and agreement. The PLRD has no problem with us utilizing a piece of their land to put a pile on, and maybe we can give some families an opportunity to be outside this winter in the next 4 weeks. Yes, in closing, I'd like to also state to council, thank you for your support for our department on behalf of myself and my staff in the department. We appreciate your support. And although this Christmas will definitely look different for all of us, we wish you a very Merry Christmas and all the best for you and your loved ones.
Awesome, thank you. Any questions? Yes, Councilor Olsen.
Maybe this will put you on the spot. I don't know if Kim's mentioned anything. At budget meetings, I'd suggested flooding the tennis courts as a second ice surface, if/when it actually gets cold again. And of course, in light of all this, it might be.
We did discuss that. Actually, I was, because we can look in on the YouTube, I was aware of the comments. I was doing my work and half listening. And I was aware of that. Both my staff and I have concerns as the surface of the tennis courts is not in great shape. So if you equate that to flooding the roads and putting ice on and then watching what happens to your surface, that's our concern. It's not a great, the surface isn't in great shape at all. So we might look at another alternate location though, definitely. I'm not saying no, but there might be, I did hear Mayor Warwick's suggestion about clearing off a pond, and I thought, that was kind of fun years ago. That might not be a bad idea. And in some places they were putting open outdoor fire pits with firewood. And we've discussed that as staff too, that we want to try and make it easy for people to be outdoors with their families. We just can't encourage them to meet in groups. So if we can make it easy for people to be out and have some fun that would maybe otherwise have access, we'll definitely consider that. So it's, my comment to my staff today was, it's up to us now to be resourceful and creative. And I know they're a creative bunch and they'll think of it. We've had a suggestion of a skating path in the primary school grounds, for example. We're just, like Kevin says, it's going to take us several times to layer that. You don't just go and flood it once and be done. It's quite a process. So we'll have to think about how those things happen and how we roll them out, but we're open to suggestions. So,
Councilor Olsen, I guess the biggest concern with the tennis court and not being an expert was just getting moisture moisture in the cracks on the surface and then going down and then causing more damage in the spring. So that was our big concern. So.
yeah.
And there's no outdoor social gatherings anyway. So, I mean, it's good for one. I don't disagree with the idea. I think it's great. And I think ideally, if you act one every block, it would be perfect. It wouldn't be so each family could have their own thing. But yeah, it's going to be a tough 4 weeks.
We did do preliminary discussions with the golf course, and I had a preliminary discussion with the owner, the CM, right along the CM dam as well. In terms of, we've had people wondering about cross-country skiing. And I've had an offer from an individual who has a bit of a groomer. In the meantime, I've had discussions with the golf course, and I don't know if Kevin Macy's been out there and done it or not, but somebody's been out and made 2 trails in the rough. I haven't seen them, but somebody that's been out there is walking, so I have to connect up with Kevin. I found that out this morning. So I think people are trying to be creative about what we can do outdoors, and I'm not getting any absolute no's. I'm getting, well, we might not be able to do this, but I mean, the golf course concern is the fairways and the greens, of course, and damaging the fairways. If we get in the rough where it's not a problem, that might be okay. So it's nice to have that cooperation from people, and they're definitely looking at possibilities.
I was just gonna say, Melissa's been having outdoor gatherings,
Right.
maybe Councillor Olsen could put his ring in, don't you have a liner for your ring?
I chopped it up pretty good last year. 15 inches of ice off. It didn't happen this year.
Could you put a liner on the tennis court?
I'm sure you could. You'd have to find and buying the material that size, so, oh, you know something.
Greenhouse material. And you can add it. If they're gonna, I'll go over and do greenhouse. It's 20 or 40 feet wide, so you can even see that. But anyway,
Okay.
whatever.
Yeah, no, good, that's good, good option, yeah.
Okay, any further questions? Thanks, Director Snell. That takes us to 8.4, Director of Protective Services, Director Moll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have nothing further to add to my written report, but I would also like to echo Director Snell's wish for yourself and council to have a very Merry Christmas and a healthy, happy, prosperous new year. I will entertain any questions.
Thank you.
Just being alive, I guess, is a good thing. Is there any questions for Director Moll? Okay, thank you, and I'll speak on behalf of the council. We reiterate that sentiment to all staff of the town office, for sure. All right, that takes us to Director of Public Works, Director Olson.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I have nothing further to add to my report for December.
Okay, somebody got any questions for him? You should have. Just because. Awesome. Yes.
I think that your crew did a great job of clearing the snow on the roads, and, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And again, thank you for the sentiment in your written report on Merry Christmas. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Guess it must just be me, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, we expected that. Every year. Okay, with that, I believe that wraps up our senior administrative officials report. Thank you for that. I would entertain a motion the council accepts the senior administrative officials report 8.01 to 8.05 as presented. For information, thank you, Councilor Campion. All in favor? And that is carried. That takes us to our business items. The very first one is, budget, right? We kind of spent a little time. Well, that thing. All right, I would entertain a motion that council adopts the 2021 operating and capital budget dated December 8, 2020 as presented, and accepts the 2022 and 2023 operating budgets and the 2022 to 2025 capital budgets for information. Councilor Pedro, thank you very much. Any discussion? Anyone want to highlight anything? Yes, Councilor Bowden.
What I said before.
So just in regards to that, Councilor Bowden, there is still $100,000 in this budget for a hi-ho excavator, whatever you want to call it. The plan would be, if the council approves that we will bring back a plan as to what we're going to purchase, where, how much, all of those things. We haven't done a ton of research on it, but the money is still in the budget as it sits right now.
Was there not discussion about seeing if any local operators that own their equipment would be interested in contracting, or?
Yeah, no, we had that discussion last council meeting or last budget meeting, and we basically said 2 of the 3 that are in town are too large for our use. And the operators don't have a lot of skill working in water and sewer days. And the third one, we said, which was the one that Mr. Finkel had, we hadn't had an opportunity for a specific reason to talk to that gentleman, whether they would be interested in or not in having us use that bathroom. So council of the day left that 100,000 in at this point in time, so. Mr. Mayor, I just don't, how much?
Yeah, no,
How much do you wanna go
that's.
Are you going to talk to that fellow then?
No,
Or maybe there's people in the surrounding area, like,
Yeah, in our conversation, we said if that was an option,
yeah.
then, at that time, then obviously that would change our budget adjustments our spring adjustments is what we said.
I must have missed the actual decision
Okay,
on doing that, so.
See there, Councilor Bowden, there was no, it was included in the budget to start with, so before we made any additions, removals, those were motions that were put on the floor and voted on. There was no motion put on the floor in regards to removing that or changing that.
I missed that. I must have been stupid. Sorry.
But I guess my question, Mr. Mayor, is I know you guys have gone through it in depth. I don't know if there's, you know, if you have any questions. We've spent 3 meetings going through it. At the end of the day, we have a $21,000 surplus for 2021. We do have a deficit in 22 and 23 that will have to be dealt with in those years prior to approving the budgets. But other than that, the highlights, as council was very adamant in, they wanted to see a 0% tax increase, and this budget does create a 0% tax increase. That was one of the objectives we heard from council loud and clear. There is some assumptions in the budget that we don't know about, specifically funding from the province, what that may look at. We left it at last year's rates, but there may be a change to that. We won't know probably for a number of months yet. And as you know, as we get to May and we have to set the tax rate, we'll be back here again presenting amendments to the budget based on things that we've learned between now and May, and what our assessment is, what grants are, all those good things. The other thing that's probably going to impact us again as we move forward now, as you know, we probably went through 3 or 4 iterations of budgets with COVID having the pool out, having the pool in. Who knows how long some of these things are going to transpire, but they do have an effect. They will have an effect on the revenue generated in those facilities. They also have an effect on, you know, we will have an effect on reducing our expenditures in those facilities as well. So COVID could throw another unusual wrench into it for spring budget adjustments as well. But I don't want to go into tremendous detail here. We will have this information and have our budget on our website. So anyone who's interested can go through it. We typically plan the January newsletter that goes out. We put a big, I try and identify all the highlights, changes from one year to the next in the budget. So we'll try and do that. So we'll certainly want to be as transparent as possible. And if there's something that I guess we missed through our 3 meetings, that certainly anything can be changed at any time. So.
And I would just say, just to the folks that are here in person and to those that are listening online or watching online, that, you know, council is very aware of the current situation with COVID, and we were very respectful in that matter as to, we realize people have lost their jobs and things are tight, so we're trying to keep as tight a budget as we possibly could. So just with that in mind, it makes it a little more difficult, but administration did a great job. I think it was what they presented originally, and council did an awesome job cutting where we could and making adjustments where we could. So job well done.
The other thing, just to highlight, Mr. Mayor, is the council did make the tax arrears penalties, cut them in half in 2020. That still is applicable now, so if people are struggling paying their taxes, that's something that council has done to make it a little bit easier on them. And depending on as we move forward, you know, with our water bills, certainly we're gonna have to be a little more understanding again at this point in time, now that some more lockdowns have come in place and may impact some more people in a negative way. So but yeah, I'm sure we'll have another COVID update in January, and we'll see where we're at. Hopefully in January, we've done our penalties and we've gone through our time and things have corrected themselves, and we can start to get back to a more normal life, and hopefully the vaccines start to roll out, and some of our vulnerable people and our healthcare people get vaccinated, and things. We start a positive progression moving forward. So.
Councilor Kennedy.
Yes, in regard to that
100,000 we budgeted for that excavator. Can we not put an RFP out on that?
That would
See
be
if
part
we
of
can
it.
avoid buying that if we get a rougher RFP put out in the area?
But I think that's what we did. We put it in the hands of the director to do the best job possible. I mean, use the best option possible. I think is what we kind of directed.
I don't know, Councillor Campion, I don't know if we have to go formal with an RFP anyways. There's only a certain number of people who have that type of equipment in the region. So we've talked to a few of them already, so.
I think it's more around here than you know. I just thought an RFP wouldn't hurt to save us spending that 100,000, or whatever.
Well, at the end of the day, I guess my commitment to council is that before the $100,000 is in the budget. Before we spend the $100,000, we'll bring that back to you for your approval. And we'll flesh some more of these other things out, and we'll bring some options. And at that point in time, you guys can give us the go-ahead or not. At least at that point in time, the money's in the budget, if that's the route council chooses to go.
Any further questions? All right, then I'll call the question. All in favor? And that is carried. That takes us to 9.2, Community Services Board appointment. I would entertain a motion that council approves the appointment of Sam Lockhart as a member of the Community Services Board for a 3-year term ending October 31st, 2023. Yes, Councilor Wilson, thank you. Any questions? Obviously, probably not. Okay. Good to have somebody on there again. That's excellent. Call question. All in favor? That is carried. That takes us to 9.3. Municipal election next year, apparently. They keep saying, somebody told me that. I guess we need to appoint some returning officers. So I'm going to entertain a motion. The council appoints Rhonda Lund, Director of Corporate Services, as returning officer, and Winona Gucci, Corporate Services Assistant, as substitute returning officer for the Town of Hannah 2021 municipal election. Thank you, Councilor Bowden. Any questions? Clarity? No? It's all good? Okay, then I'll call the question. All in favor? And that is carried.
So just a little bit of update to that. As council's aware, as of January 1st or 2nd, I guess I'll say, people can turn in their nomination papers. Although my understanding, Rhonda, correct me if I'm wrong, is forms aren't available yet.
Province has not downloaded the form yet.
So hopefully that will happen before January 2nd, and people can get them in, but a little bit different than before. So just want to bring that to your attention. We'll be waiting for them. Once the forms are available, we'll have them at the office and probably on our website if someone wants to download them to fill them out.
The difference is you can put your nomination forward and retract it.
Yes.
Right?
As many times as you wish up until nomination.
That's interesting. All right, any further questions on that? Everybody, okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? That is certainly carried. Okay, that takes us to 9.4 Real Estate Services Agreement. I would entertain a motion that the mayor and chief administrative officer be authorized to enter into an agreement with Mark Aubin and Associates to provide real estate services to the Town of Hannah as per the proposal dated November 27, 2020, effective immediately for a term ending December 31st of 2021. Councilor Stipp, thank you for that. Mr. Neal, you want to?
Just a quick update. So we've had various local realtors serve in that role. With the last contract we had expired. And then I guess with the fact that we thought we might be facing some more properties that have come available through the tax auction process, that there might be a need to bring someone on to help market that stuff and be in that position. We did send the proposal to all 4 local realtors and received only 1 proposal back. So that's not necessarily unusual, but Marco Van and Associates, for those who don't